Here we go.
Hello guys, I'm Comic Book Movie Film Productions, and welcome back to the DC Film Retrospective. Today's film is focused on a more spiritual comic book character, starring Hollywood's golden boy Keanu Reeves, Constantine. The film was in development ever since the late 90s, shortly after the character was created and became popular. The original script had Constantine being a lot more comic book accurate, with him being British and blonde, but no studio would pick up the script until Constantine was changed into an American. A few directors and writers were chosen for the project, and Nick Cage was set to star, but those plans ended up falling through. And Alan Moore, the creator of Constantine, refused to have his name on the film due to previous adapted films of his work such as From Hell and The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen flopping. In 2002, Keanu Reeves was cast as the character, and Francis Lawrence, who's mostly known for directing 3 out of the 4 Hunger Games films, was hired to direct the film as his debut. The film was going to be called Hellblazer like the comics, but similar to how the comics changed their name from Hellraiser to Hellblazer because of the iconic horror film that came out a year prior to the comic's release. The film changed its name because Hellboy came out, and they didn't want the two films to become mixed up, because the film was set to come out in fall 2004, before it was pushed back. Despite they are different films, but there was a prop in here that was also used in Hellboy, funny enough. The film got made and released in theaters in February 2005, and was a decent financial hit, but got mixed reviews from critics and audiences were split on the film. The film has since gained a cult following, and Keanu Reeves has stated since, even as recent as this year, stating he wants to make a sequel to the film, along with the director. But now with the history out of the way, let's get into the plot. The film revolves around John Constantine, played by Keanu Reeves. He is an exorcist who can see half-breeds, which are people who are given powers by God and Lucifer to control the balance of Earth, along with demons, angels, and other creatures, as he battles demons and sends them back to hell. But he doesn't do it because he's a hero, he does it for himself, since when he was little he was scared of the images he saw, and it got to the point where when he was a teenager he attempted suicide, but was able to be brought back. But since he was officially dead for 2 minutes, by Catholic rules, his soul is forever damned to hell when he dies, which will be fairly quick because of his avid smoking addiction giving him terminal lung cancer, unless he does a self-sacrifice. He asks a half-breed Gabriel, sent by God and played by Donald Swinton, to see if his actions are enough to pay himself into heaven, but she says it's not enough. Meanwhile, a cop, Angela Dodson, played by Rachel Weisz, is grieving over the death of her twin sister Isabel, who jumped off the roof of the hospital she was committed to, since she has been plagued by demonic visions similar to Constantine when she was little. But Angela suppressed her powers, and they eventually went away. Angela doesn't believe Isabel killed herself, due to her knowing that she was a devout Catholic and knew if she killed herself, she would go straight to hell. She goes to fight Constantine after she watched security footage of her sister walking onto the rooftop of the hospital and whispering his name, as he is also trying to solve the case. After doing an exorcism on a girl in one of the opening scenes of the film, where the demon tried to enter their world, he wonders if demons found another pathway. He wants to use a chair that can see the future at a secret nightclub where half-breeds don't need to hide themselves from the outside. That is very similar to the Continental Hotel from the John Wick series, led by Witch Doctor Papa Midnight, played by Digimon Hanzo. Constantine asks to use the chair, but Midnight refuses because he needs to keep the balance of their world and not mess around with it. He figures something is coming, so he goes around to his other acquaintances, asking for supplies and any clues leading towards something coming. Angela finds John after he acted like a drug torso earlier in the film, asking for help discovering the murder of her sister and wanting to see the visions she saw, but can't due to her suppressing her powers. He performs some rituals as he finds out the evil plot that is being schemed. Many demonic half-breeds are trying to bring Lucifer's son Mammon into the world and destroy it, bringing hell on earth. They need to spare Destiny, the weapon that was used to kill Jesus Christ, and a sacrifice as a way to bring Mammon into the world. Constantine and Angela try to stop this from happening, battling many demons associated with this plot, and Constantine's acquaintances are being killed off one by one. Angela gets her powers back, but not without first being captured by a scavenger that was possessed by the spirit of Destiny in the opening scene of the film, as she is brought to the same hospital where her sister died, and is planned to be the sacrifice because she was chosen along with her sister due to their powers. John goes to Midnight, asking to use the chair as he is sent to hell, which is a ruinous stormy landscape as sees a future. He teams up with his sidekick and cab driver Chaz Kramer, played by Shia LaBeouf, to stop Mammon from ascending to Earth, using many religious weapons given to them earlier in the film. They go to the hospital and bound the half-breeds, killing most of them, but realize it isn't enough as Chaz is killed and Gabriel ends up being the ringleader of the plan, saying she wants to bring Mammon to wipe out all the sinners of the Earth, which is most, if not all, the human race, because he resents God's love towards humans. John decides his only way to win is to slice his wrist, killing himself and bringing Lucifer himself, played by Pierre Stormare, who John was the only soul he wanted to collect himself, as John tells Lucifer about Gabriel's plot. He stops her plan because it disrupts his and God's plan of keeping the earth balanced, as God strips Gabriel's wings away, leaving her as a mortal. God deems John worthy of being in heaven, but as he is ascending, Lucifer brings him back down to Earth and clears him of his lung cancer, believing John will commit another sin that will damn himself to hell once more. The movie ends with Angela being saved along with the world, as John trusts Angela with the Spear of Destiny as a two-part ways, despite having a little bit of a romance, as John continues to send souls to hell, as credits roll to a post-credit scene of John visiting Chaz's grave, only to realize Chaz became a half-breed angel as the two smirk at each other as they part ways as credits roll. The film has a lot of interesting ideas and concepts that you don't see in many comic book films of this scale. I like that Constantine has a flawed hero, and we understand where he comes from. The film has a really stacked cast from Keanu Reeves, Rachel Weisz, Tilda Swinton, Peter Stormare, Digimon Hansu, who basically appears in every comic book movie and will appear later in the series. And of course Shia LaBeouf. All of them do well in this movie. The action is really fun, mainly due to how creative it is with a really cool imagery, which is probably the best aspect of the film. I love the designs in this movie, from the look of hell, the weapons Constantine uses, the stopping time scenes, which granted are very reminiscent of the Matrix trilogy, which came out around the same time period as this, all the demons and the half-breeds. It all looks very unique. The film for the first 2 acts has a very fast-paced feel to it. The film has a decent amount of suspense, and world building thrown into the mix. The directing is strong for a debut, and the writing isn't that bad either, with some pretty decent dialogue that the characters bounce off one another, which the film does a good job of making each character unique and stand out. The score is enjoyable, with it adding enough atmosphere and having some nice tunes like the end credits song that's playing in the background. It's a decent flick. The film, although is good, has some major issues that hold it back for me. First off, the film has a lot of interesting side characters, but the film barely gives any of them screen time or development. The film has a solid cast, as I stated earlier, but they don't do anything. Constantine's acquaintances are cut off fairly early on. Chaz pops in and out whenever they need him, and then he dies randomly, and the twist with Gabriel being the villain didn't affect me because she was only given one scene in the first act before the final act took place. It's mainly just John and Angela, which the two have decent banter, but the romance doesn't work, and Keanu Reeves isn't his best here as Constantine. He's fine in the role and has some really badass moments here with the action scenes, but he plays a character so straight and monotone along with Rachel Weisz that it draws the entertainment value during the scenes that there wasn't action involved. It doesn't have anything to do with that this wasn't a character from the comics, because have you seen Keanu Reeves trying to do an American accent?
I know where the bastard sleeps. I brought him there.
But he should have played it up more. The film also has a very convoluted plot. I honestly had no idea what was going on half the time due to the lack of context that was established in the beginning of the film, along with introducing so many out there concepts that I could barely keep up. And the film does drag a little bit towards the end, with the final battle being a little too long, and as a whole the film's a little forgettable after watching it, to be honest. Overall, Constantine is a decent film. It is unique amongst the superhero genre, and has a lot of cool concepts and imagery that spice up the film, along with its stacked cast, fun action, good writing with arcs that actually pay off, interesting direction, nice score, decent suspense and world building, and being a breath of fresh air after reviewing 3 of the worst superhero films I've ever seen. But it does suffer from a convoluted plot that is hard to follow and light on context, most of the characters being underdeveloped and getting a little screen time, bad romance, the film dragging in places, due to some of the film just not being that investing, and its plays so straight and monotone. But as a whole, if you like demonic-esque action films or films of this nature, then you'll probably enjoy it. It's not great, but it's a step in the right direction from where the past few DC films have been. I give Constantine a B-, a 7 out of 10, and a rented recommendation. So that's Constantine. What do you guys think about it? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and please make sure to like and subscribe for more content. I'm Combo Movie Productions, and this isn't the last DC film review, because justice needs to be served.